Our family dog was old. We knew her time was coming. Our neighbor, a retired vet, offered to make the transition easier. I said no. 2 days later she was gone. Vanished from the yard. I asked him if he'd seen anything. He just said, "She's free now. She's not hurting anymore." I found her collar buried in his garden. And a stone marker that read, "She was mine first." We had an old golden retriever named Daisy. She wasn't just our dog. She was part of the family. My wife Carla and I got her right after we got married. 14 years ago. She grew up with us, and later, with our daughter Lucy. By the time last fall rolled around, Daisy was moving slow. She couldn't do stairs anymore. Her hips were giving out. She'd stand at the bottom and bark until someone carried her up. She had cloudy eyes and barely any hearing left. She still wagged her tail when she saw us, but we knew it was almost time. We weren't ready to make the call yet, though. I think deep down, we were all waiting for Daisy to let us know when she was ready. We live in a quiet part of Corvallis, Oregon. Small town feel. Everybody knows everybody. Retired folks, young families, that kind of place. We've lived in the same house for 9 years. Good yard, quiet neighbors. Or so I thought. Our next-door neighbor, Dale, was a retired vet. He moved in last year after his wife died. Late 60s, quiet guy. Kept to himself. Spent most of his time gardening. His yard looked like a nursery, always full of new plants. He was polite, always waved. I didn't really know him, but we'd talk sometimes. One day, he saw me helping Daisy up the steps. He walked over to the fence and leaned on it. "She's not doing well," he said. I nodded. "Yeah, she's old. We're just trying to keep her comfortable." He looked at her for a long time, then said, "If it ever gets too hard, I can help. I've still got my stuff. It's peaceful. Doesn't take long." I didn't like the way he said it. Too calm. Like he wasn't offering, more like suggesting. I smiled but shook my head. "I appreciate it. But we'll take care of her when it's time." He just nodded and said, "You don't want her to suffer." Carla didn't like Dale. She always said something felt off about him. Said he looked at Daisy like he knew her. I didn't think much of it at the time. I figured he was just an old vet who missed working. 2 days later, Daisy disappeared. We let her out in the backyard every morning like usual. 10 minutes later, she was gone. The gate was open. Not broken, just unlatched. She was old and slow. No way she got far on her own. I checked the neighborhood, then the woods behind our house. Called every shelter, knocked on doors, posted in the Facebook groups. Nothing. Not a single sighting. Carla cried for hours. Lucy didn't understand. She kept asking when Daisy was coming back. That evening, I went next door and knocked on Dale's door. He opened it like he'd been standing behind it, waiting. "You see Daisy?" I asked. He stared at me with this weird calm in his face and said, "She's free now. She's not hurting anymore." I just stood there, trying to make sense of what he'd said. "What does that mean?" "She's not suffering," he said again. Then he slowly closed the door. I remember standing on his porch for a long time, just frozen. I didn't know what to do. The way he said it, it wasn't right. Next morning, I walked along the fence line between our yards. His garden had been freshly turned. A small new stone was there, in the middle of a flower bed. It looked like a memorial stone. Small, flat, like something you'd find in a pet cemetery. I waited until nobody was looking and stepped over the fence. I moved the mulch with my foot. Underneath was soft soil. New. I dug with my hands just a little. That's when I saw it. Daisy's red collar. Still had her tag on it. My number. Her name. I almost threw up right there in his yard. I pulled the rest of the dirt off the stone. Someone had carved into it, probably with a knife. It said, "She was mine first." I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking. What the hell did that mean? Then I remembered. A conversation from months ago, when Dale first moved in. He told me about a golden retriever he used to have. He said she ran off one night during a storm and never came back. Said she was the only thing that helped him after the war. I thought he meant Vietnam. Maybe Desert Storm. He didn't say. That dog would have been dead by now. Long gone. But Daisy looked a lot like her. Same coloring. Same build. Was he trying to say Daisy was his dog? That she'd come back to him after all these years? Or was it something darker? Did he believe it? Or did he just want to take something from us? I didn't know. All I knew was Daisy was gone. And Dale took her. And he buried her like she belonged to him. I wanted to destroy him. I really did. But I didn't want to go to jail. I didn't want to blow up my life over this. I wanted him to hurt, but not physically. I wanted him to feel the way I felt. Haunted. Broken. Confused. So I started watching him. He was a creature of habit. Got up every morning at 6:30. Gardened for 2 hours. Went to the store Thursdays at 9 a.m. sharp. Went to a VFW meeting once a month. No wife, no kids, no computer. Paid cash for everything. I began small. First, I stole one of his gloves from the shed and dropped it in the woods. Then I disconnected his hose every few nights so his plants would wilt. He blamed squirrels. Next, I mailed him a photo of Daisy. Just the picture. No return address. No note. A week later, I left one of her tennis balls in his mailbox. He started looking over the fence more often. Nervous. Jumpy. Then I started playing recordings of Daisy barking. I had a few old videos. I got a Bluetooth speaker, hid it behind his shed, and used an app to play short clips every other night around 2 a.m. Just long enough to make him look out the window. He stopped sleeping. You could see it in his face. Then I started whispering her name near his fence. Just low enough for him to barely hear. Daisy. Daisy. Every time I saw him, I smiled like nothing was wrong. He started yelling at night. At nothing. He put up a taller fence. Even though he didn't have a dog. He started digging up parts of his yard. Looking for something. Or maybe trying to move something. After 2 months, his garden died. He stopped watering it. Then one day, Carla found a letter in our mailbox. No envelope. Just a folded note. Written in shaky handwriting. I was wrong. I thought she came back to me. I know now she was yours. I'm sorry. I didn't stop. He needed to feel it longer. Then one morning, he was gone. Packed up and left. No notice. The house sat empty for months. I kept Daisy's collar in my toolbox. Still do. Every time I see a new neighbor move in, I look at that garden. And I remember. A few weeks after Dale left, the house stayed empty. Grass started growing tall, weeds took over his flower beds. The for sale sign went up 2 months later, and by then the whole neighborhood had started talking. Someone said Dale went into assisted living. Someone else said he'd had a breakdown and was living with his brother in Montana. Nobody knew for sure, and I didn't ask. But I kept watching that yard. Especially the spot where I found Daisy's collar. Then one day, a new truck pulled into the driveway. A young couple stepped out, maybe early 30s, looked city-raised. They had a baby, 2 dogs, and a "Live, laugh, love" sign on the back window. I met them a few days later when they were unloading boxes. Guy introduced himself as Troy. His wife's name was Monica. Friendly enough, loud dogs. They asked about the neighborhood, where the best pizza place was. Seemed normal. But one night about a week after they moved in, Troy knocked on my door around 10 p.m. He looked spooked. Hey man. Sorry it's late, but did the guy who lived here before ever talk to you about that garden? I played dumb. What do you mean? I mean the stone. The one buried in the corner bed. It says she was mine first. You ever see that? I nodded slowly. Once, maybe. Never thought much about it. He rubbed the back of his neck. My wife found it while she was planting tulips. We left it alone. But weird stuff's been happening. I didn't say anything. Just waited. Our dogs keep barking at the fence. Same spot every night. And the baby, she cries like crazy anytime she's near that window facing the garden. Monica swears she heard barking outside at 3 a.m. last night, but the dogs were inside. I kept my face straight, but my stomach twisted a little. It's probably nothing, I said. Might be a raccoon or something. He nodded, but I could tell he didn't believe that. They left the stone in the garden, didn't move it. 2 nights later, Troy called me over while he was out back. Look, he said, shining a flashlight on the ground. Something had dug into the dirt near the stone. Not deep, just enough to stir it up. Fresh. But there weren't any paw prints. No signs of an animal. And in the middle of it was a tennis ball. Old. Faded. The name, Daisy, still barely visible in black marker. He held it out to me. This yours? I took it. Yeah, used to be my dog's. He didn't ask how it got there. He just nodded and looked back at the garden. After that, things got weird again. They put up cameras. Motion lights. Said someone was whispering outside their window at night. Said they saw a shadow walking along the fence, but the footage always glitched. Troy asked me if I thought the place was haunted. I didn't answer. Carla started noticing it too. I don't like the way the yard feels now, she told me one night. It's like she's still there. But not the way she was. I thought maybe I had done something I couldn't undo. Maybe messing with Dale had stirred something deeper. Or maybe it was guilt. Then Lucy came to me with something in her hand. It was Daisy's other collar. The green one we lost years ago. Where'd you get that? I asked. She pointed to the base of the fence. It was sitting by the rose bush. I hadn't seen that collar in over 6 years. That's when I realized this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. After Lucy found the old green collar, things started changing inside our own house too. The back door would creak open at night, even when it was locked. Our motion sensor in the hallway went off at random hours. Always between 2 and 3 a.m. I replaced it twice, thinking it was faulty. But it kept happening. One night, I got up to check and swore I saw something outside by the fence. Not a person. Not exactly. Just a shape. Like someone sitting still in the grass. When I stepped onto the porch, it was gone. I didn't tell Carla. She was already on edge. Then came the digging. Troy called me over again one morning. There was a hole, same place near the stone. Bigger this time. Deeper. Inside was something wrapped in an old white towel. He didn't want to touch it. I didn't either, but I forced myself. It was bones. Not big enough for a person, but not small like a squirrel. Clean. No smell. But the towel had faded red stains in the corners. I don't know how I kept my face calm. I told him it was probably just a dead animal Dale buried. Maybe a cat or something. But I knew. I knew what they were. Carla found me that night sitting in the garage, just staring at the towel. I'd taken it, folded it up, locked it in my tool chest. Why won't you let this go? She asked. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Troy and Monica left town 2 weeks later. Just packed up in the middle of the night and drove off. Didn't say goodbye. Their realtor put the house back on the market. It sat empty again. Until last week. A woman showed up. Probably in her 60s. Walked slow. Wore a dark coat and sunglasses even though it was overcast. She didn't go inside. Just stood in the garden. I watched her from the kitchen. She stayed there for maybe 20 minutes, then walked straight to our door and knocked. Carla answered. I came in just as the woman was asking if I was home. She looked at me like she already knew who I was. You knew Dale, she said. I nodded. I'm his sister. She reached into her coat and pulled out a photo. It was an old picture. Dale in uniform, smiling, holding a golden retriever that looked just like Daisy. Same exact face. Same white patch above the eye. She was named Sandy, she said. Dale got her from a breeder in Salem. She ran away during a storm when he was 38. He spent 10 years looking for her. Thought every golden retriever was her. She paused. He started keeping collars. From the ones he found. The ones that looked like her. I felt something tighten in my chest. How many? I asked. She looked away. At least 5. That night, I went back to the garden. I dug deeper this time. All the way to the bottom. There were more collars. 7 of them. Each one had a different name. But only one stone. And it still said she was mine first. I stood there in that garden, in the dark, holding 7 dirty collars in my hands. Each one had a name tag still attached. Bella. Maxie. Scout. Tucker. Honey. Lola. And Daisy. 7 dogs. Maybe more. Maybe ones that never wore tags. He buried them all here. Right under everyone's nose. Quiet. Careful. Always with that stone that read she was mine first. That night I didn't sleep. I kept seeing his face when he said, "She's free now." I kept hearing Daisy's bark in my head, over and over. Something in me broke. Not sadness. Not anger. Something colder. I went into the garage, took out the old towel with the bones, the collars, the stone. I loaded everything into my truck. I didn't tell Carla. I didn't even leave a note. I drove 3 hours north to the assisted living center Dale's sister had mentioned. She didn't know I'd remembered. She shouldn't have told me. But I had what I needed. It was a plain beige building with a trimmed lawn. Peaceful. Quiet. Too quiet. I walked in and told the woman at the front desk I was his nephew. She didn't ask for ID. Just pointed me to room 108. He was there. Alone. Reading a magazine he wasn't really reading. He didn't recognize me at first. Then he did. His face turned pale, and he set the magazine down slow. "You came," he said. "I dug up your garden," I said. "All of it." He didn't look surprised. She looked just like her. He whispered. I thought she came back to me. You killed my dog, I said. She was hurting, he replied. You took her, I said louder now. From my yard. From my daughter. You put a rock over her and called her yours. He didn't move. Didn't defend himself. Just sat there, like he was waiting for something. I pulled the towel out of my bag. Dropped it on the table. The bones clacked inside. You want to keep these? I asked. He reached for it, but I grabbed his hand. No. You don't get to have them. Then I dropped the collars. One by one. Let him look at each tag. He stared. His lips moved like he was counting. 7, he whispered. You didn't just bury them, I said. You stole them. From their homes. From their families. You murdered them. Tears welled in his eyes. But I didn't care. You deserve worse, I said. He nodded. I know. I want you to rot here, I told him. And every day, I want you to think about Daisy. I want you to wonder which bark is real, and which one is just in your head. Then I did the one thing I knew would haunt him forever. I took out my phone. Played the recording of Daisy barking, her real bark. The one I'd used to torment him before. His eyes went wide. He covered his ears. Shook his head. No, 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 he said louder and louder. She's gone. She's gone. I turned and walked out. I mailed the collars to the local sheriff anonymously. Included photos. A map of the garden. I didn't need to be part of the case. I just wanted him exposed. A month later, they opened an investigation. Dug up the yard. Found the bones. The collars. The marker. It made the local news. Retired veterinarian suspected of killing multiple dogs over 20 years. Dale didn't last long after that. Word is, he refused to eat. Barely spoke. One night he tried to hang himself with his bedsheet. Didn't work. But he never spoke again after that. They moved him to a mental hospital. I didn't go to his hearing. Didn't need to. But here's the truth that keeps me up at night. I didn't just break him. I changed myself. I let revenge twist me. I let it live in me. I used my grief to feed it. And when it was over, when Dale was gone and the garden was bare, I didn't feel better. I just felt empty. Lucy still asks about Daisy. She says she sees her in her dreams. Says Daisy runs like she used to. Says she's happy now. I tell her that's true. Because even if I can't fix what happened, I'll never let anyone forget who she was. She was mine. And he paid for every second he stole.